The White House monitoring things in California. Here's the tweet from the West Wing a bit earlier. Quote, I've been fully briefed on the terrible shooting in California. Law enforcement and first responders, together with the FBI, are on scene. 13 people this time have been reported dead. Likewise, the shooter is dead, along with the first police officer to enter the bar. Great bravery shown by police. California Highway Patrol was on scene within 3 minutes, with first officer to enter, shot numerous times. That sheriff sergeant died in the hospital. God bless all the victims and families of the victims. Thank you to law enforcement. End tweet there. I want to bring in Kellyanne Conway with the North Lawn, and good morning to you. Tough day here. Counsel of the President, what more can you add about what he has been told about this?
Well, the President, I'm sorry, Bill, the President has put it perfectly, expressing his condolences and obviously saying that the FBI is working with those on the ground in California to investigate. You know how this goes. You've got loved ones probably still searching for their children. You have first responders and emergency room personnel treating the wounded. And this investigation will continue. And I know the President will stand behind law enforcement, federally, state, and local, as they continue their work. We won't interfere. We will completely support their work. And we certainly know that 12 or so families wake up this morning to tremendous loss, and we grieve with them.
Yeah. Is there anything planned at the White House that would put him on camera to address it even more, Kellyanne?
I don't have that statement. Obviously, on today's public schedule for the President, he and the First Lady will be going to the United States Supreme Court for the investiture of Justice Brett Kavanaugh. That is the first thing that he will be doing publicly, so he may or may not make a comment. I'll leave that to the President.
I think that's in 20 minutes, so we'll follow the movements there. Tender subject here in California, but there's a lot going on in Washington as well. That was a rough moment during that briefing yesterday with Jim Acosta from CNN. Where is this thing with CNN headed, Kellyanne?
But it was a rough moment for the young aide as well, who's just doing her job to get the microphone back after the President had entertained a question or so from the CNN reporter and was moving on to the next reporter. The reporter from NBC was already standing, getting ready to ask his question. And she was just doing her job, which is to reclaim the microphone that belongs to the federal government and hand it to the next reporter. Obviously, I don't think anybody should have, any young woman particularly, should have somebody swiping away at them and grabbing the microphone back. That's very unfortunate. I've talked to that young woman. She's very brave and just doing her job. But I think overall, for any outlet to say this President and this White House don't respect the First Amendment, and then privately to tell us again and again we are the most accessible, transparent, open administration, always this President has been giving so much press availability, whether he's on the South Lawn, whether he's doing a 90-minute press conference yesterday, 81 minutes up at UNGA last month. You know, just yesterday, Bill, President Trump answered 68 questions from 35 different reporters over the span of 90 minutes. That's pro-press. That's transparent. That's accountability. At his first press conference, after he lost double the number, after President Obama lost double the number of the House seats and took his, quote, shellacking, to use his word, he faced the press, but he took 22 questions from 10 reporters, 68 questions from 35 reporters for President Trump yesterday.
Yeah. Listen, I'm not here to pick a fight today, especially in light of what's happening in California, but White House Correspondents Association put out a statement. I want our viewers to hear it now. The White House Correspondents Association strongly objects to the Trump administration's decision to use U.S. Secret Service security credentials as a tool to punish a reporter with whom it has a difficult relationship. Revoking access to the White House complex is a reaction out of line to the purported offense and is unacceptable. You know, you pulled his past last night. What does that ultimately accomplish?
Look, there are journalists here at the White House and the White House Press Corps who every single day try to do their job by getting the story. Others try to get the President. They shall remain nameless right now. I think that some people like to grandstand and be part of the story. There's no question about that. We hear that from other journalists. Maybe they're not going to come forward and say that, but they say that. They think that some people, again, not naming any, why would I, make everybody look a little bit less authoritative and less biased on some days. And so that is a decision that was made, and it is, I would not expect the White House Press Association to say anything differently. But again, you have to go back to everything the President said yesterday. The President also said that his press secretary, his administration, constantly being berated by members of the press. And I'm one of the most pro-press people here. I'm on TV daily, including on other networks, not just Fox.
Here's the question. There's a national tone that's running red hot right now. How do you counsel the President to try and bring that tone down?
Well, the president said days ago that he would like to have a softer tone, but that he's had no choice, because he has to defend himself. He has to defend his agenda. He has to defend members of his administration, members of his family. You want to talk about a red-hot tone? What about the woman who lost in 2016 who can't seem to get over it, saying that we can't be civil to people of the opposite party? What about Maxine Waters saying, you see members of the cabinet get up in their faces? Now she's set to be a chairman of an important committee. Jerry Nadler just yesterday on a train ride down from New York to Washington was caught by a reporter saying that he's going to work to impeach President Trump and impeach Justice Kavanaugh. You want to talk about red-hot tone and substance? There it is. It's dangerous. Yeah, I've been physically touched by people. I've been yelled at. My kids have been threatened. Tucker Carlson, your colleague, had a mob show up at his house last night. His wife was hiding in a pantry. Let's talk about red-hot rhetoric. I'll stand here all day long in my 4-inch heels and talk about it if you want to, but I will not let it be cast as one-sided and the president's fault.
Kellyanne, when was the decision, and just one more topic here in the short time I have left, when was the decision to fire Jeff Sessions? When was that decision made?
Well, the president obviously asked for his resignation yesterday. He tendered it. It's been a fraught relationship that you have covered on your program and elsewhere on your network for many months, if not the better part of a year and a half. It's been a long time coming. But look, I think many people, including the president yesterday, commended General Sessions for his years, his service. He's been a public servant for 40 years down in Alabama, here in the United States Senate, and as Attorney General. But I think it's very commendable and notable that the president is auguring for a continuum by having the chief of staff to the Attorney General, who's been there for over a year on the job, be the acting Attorney General, quote, until a permanent replacement can be nominated, and keeping in his job the Deputy Attorney General, Mr. Rosenstein. So this is a continuum. The Mueller investigation will continue. I would note for you the ABC News polling that came out 2 days ago.
Okay.
42% say they approve of the way Mueller's handling the investigation, 46% disapprove. And in a separate question, 41% say that the investigation is justified, and 54% believe it's politically motivated. That's ABC News data.
Yeah, understood. Kellyanne, I apologize. We've got some more breaking news, believe it or not.
Absolutely.
This is the tone by which we operate now, the speed, but I hope you come back. Thank you so much.
Thank you,
Kellyanne
Bill.
Conway from the North Lawn Desk.
We saw it. Now 24 hours later, let's talk about it. Showdown between the White House and the media after the Trump administration pulled the credentials from a network correspondent following a contentious news conference yesterday. Howie Kurtz, host of Media Buzz, joins me now. So we were sitting here and it was happening live, and it was unreal, was the tweet that I put out, Howie.
It was unreal. It was very contentious, and especially, Harris, when President Trump called on CNN White House correspondent Jim Acosta, who is known for a bit of grandstanding, who is known to lecture the president. He did that on the subject of the caravan, telling him, no, Mr. President, it was not an invasion. The president then tried to move on in the questioning, and this happened. Take a look.
If I may ask one other question, Mr. President, if I may ask one other question, are you worried?
That's enough. That's enough. I'll tell you what, CNN should be ashamed of itself having you working for them. You are a rude, terrible person. You shouldn't be working for CNN.
I've never seen anything like that. I've never seen a White House correspondent refuse to give up the mic and keep asking questions after having several such questions. CNN put out a statement saying the president's attacks on the press are dangerous and un-American, very strong language. And by taking the exceedingly rare step, Harris, of yanking Acosta's credentials, may have taken a step toward turning him into a bit of a martyr, because others in the news business are now standing behind him. What's gotten lost is what he did. The White House also may have had a misstep in making this about whether or not, when that young woman, a White House intern, came over to take the mic, Acosta was accused, he denies this, calls it a lie, of sort of laying hands on her. There was only incidental contact. The White House press office also put out a doctored version of the video by the conspiracy group InfoWars. It made Acosta look more aggressive than he actually was. And so this, of course, ratcheting up the already very difficult tensions between the White House and the press, and we'll see how long this suspension of Acosta lasts and how the rest of the media react. Meanwhile, in a very unfortunate bit of media news, last night, nearly 24 anti-fascist protesters went to the Washington home of our Fox colleague Tucker Carlson. They were chanting slogans, calling him a racist. They banged on the door and cracked the door. They frightened his wife, who was inside. His 4 children were not home at the time. Even some liberal voices who have been very opposed to Tucker Carlson speaking out now, saying this is unacceptable, that all these protests aimed at conservatives and aimed at Trump administration officials have got to stop, that somebody's going to get hurt. I think it would be good if there were even more voices drawing the line at this kind of conduct.
And I know, as you said, he wasn't home. Thank the good Lord nothing happened with his family. That is
Indeed.
unacceptable. We are glad he is okay.